Let's take a 3x1 and add in a couple bunkers, then a couple compound outposts. And that's pretty much the concept for my latest base design. Expand from small into large, from loot rooms to defenses, from tricky turrets to beloved bunkers. The retreat has everything that your small group needs. And let's go a little further in depth in our tour right now. As we stroll along the compound, we're showing off the visibility from our breach peaks. And we can head over to one of our two external TCs, and it's of course a Sator disconnectable. Beef that up as much as you want or leave it nice and cheap. Completely up to you, but if you're on the kind of server where they're going to take over your external, you might want to beef that up more. Disconnect it with a roof and reconnect as shown. That'll allow us to replace the main TC and core if we need to do so. Heading into the gatehouse, it comes equipped with some Patricos that allows us to see over the top and bottom of that triangle, giving us a nice head glitch. Heading out into compound, you can see that we have funneled it through with some shotgun traps, and we've beefed up the high wall cost by adding a large furnace in the front there, nice and tall, getting right in the way. The ramp here allows us to go on top of our compound outpost, which gives us some extra angles of course too, making it easier to defend. And we can also disguise a shotgun trap underneath that ramp that could catch people off trying to head through to the compound outpost. This of course is where we're going to store an extra loot room, a battery, and a lot of beds through here too. Essentially the entire base could be pummeled through. And as long as you've got some locker kits in this area, you can still defend until the very end. And if you guys have a little bit of time, this sponsor means a lot to me. Alright troops, new merch drop. A zero branding desk mat with flawless print and stitching, manufactured by the best. And I personally have a collection of Epic desk mats right here. Epic Desk is a Facepunch backed company that provide a certificate and custom order number, so let me know what order number you guys get. This art depicts a topography sky looking over the base that won Twitch Rivals, one of my favorite designs. Every mat purchased is going to help the channel massively. If you choose to do so, the link will be in the description down below to head to Epic Desk and cop the mouse mat. Nice angles all the way out and around of course, up above to catch anyone laddering over the funnel. And overall just a nice little section here, away from the base, and nice for defending of course. Then we can head through to one of our two entrances here. And we can go ahead and head through the single door. And into our mobility chute. You can see our mobility chute has been multi-TC'd, and that is for good reason, as we have a nice Vendy bunker here. Not a massive amount of storage in there, but you can fit exactly what you need to bunker off in there. A single twig roof is going to open up our bunker, and destroying that will close it off. Right now we have armored it in a way that it makes it 15 rockets to get inside, which is pretty nice. One of our ramps actually covers up our drop down into starter, and that's okay. You only really need to access those bunkers near the time that you're logging off, so it shouldn't ruin mobility too much. Plus there's not much going on in the starter except for our TC and our beginning bags. From second floor we can jump up to our third floor with two options here, heading in that single door, and it will take us to a quick almost kind of shooting floor section here where we do have Patricos covering off every corner of the base. The angles aren't amazing, but the head glitch is good for you, and it can give some visibility. On this floor we have respawns, we have batteries, and of course some lockers to go with those beds. You can also spam some furnaces and more deployables up here, and boxes too, out towards that mobility section. Jumping up, we've got more peaks down and around from our roof exit, and a nice heli take from there too. Then we have a bunch of half kind of window peaks looking down from the roof to give us more angles, and some more mountain roof style peaks too. Looking down here is a really nice angle as well, good little head glitch, and it's often not seen by raiders. Then that chain link on the turret is just wonderful, really hard and annoying turret to break. A couple of extra beds up on roof that are tucked out of the way that could be missed by raiders. And our windmill's nice and accessible for that electrician. Heading through the chain link gate is going to take us through to another drop down section where we've got even more beds and we can cover the compound below. And lastly, an OP peak facing towards a potential raid base location. That's our base. We'll move on to the costs now. On screen is the total build cost. Second up is the box amount, and that'll make things a little bit easier to visualize. And lastly is the total upkeep that is spread between 3 TCs, and it's pretty low for this one, which is really nice. Now we'll go ahead and move on to our build tutorial. And we'll start this one off with just a 1x1, nice and small footprint to claim your build spot. We're going to have a frame in our TC compartment there, and that's going to help with placing a jump up later on in the build, making life easier, so keep that one in mind. And then you've got a spot for furnaces and a jump up to second floor just to seal in this little starter base. It's nice and small, which is good for claiming that build spot with minimal mats, and it should look like that. Once you're good to go, we can come out and honeycomb around the opposite end just to make that base a little bit more symmetrical in the shape. And we'll build out the rest of the footprint for our full 3x1. and a couple of temporary ways up in the form of twig roofs, taking us up and entering our base. Next, we're going to do our multi-TC build out. Let's do it nice and early and get our externals down. So we're going out with 7 squares, and then we're coming back with 4 triangle half moons, breaking all that twig. And of course, it's just mathematics, so if you can't go out 7 squares, go out 3 and then go out 4. As long as it adds up to 7, you can do it in as many different iterations as you need. And we're looking for that row of triangles at the end, and we can break the twig from here. From our row of triangles, we're going to come out and build our gatehouse. And we're going to join that up with a floor frame. And we'll build our gatehouse as follows, with those nice patricos on there. Making sure you get some boxes in your gatehouse to stand on, so you can fully take advantage of those patricos. Then we're going to add in kind of a wall for our airlock. And then over on this side is where this double door will go for the funnel. And a window and a double door here that will also act as a funnel / entrance into the base. And there's those frames. Here is the floor I was on about before. We're going to pull that through. Just like that. That's part of our jump up. And then on the opposite side we can utilize that floor frame from the TC compartment. Finish off the gatehouse with a triangle, and then we're going to build out 4 squares for our Satori disconnectable. You can make this external stronger than I have if you want. That's completely up to you. Right now it's pretty cheap as chips, but you can beef it up if need be. That's our external. Terrific. Let's go ahead and repeat everything that we just did on the opposite side of the base. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add in our floors, and making sure you pull them towards main base. You'll see got a gap running down this edge here. All of our floors are lining up, making it look nice and pretty. There we go. Same on both sides. Perfect. Alright, working on our second floor now. We'll go ahead and fill in the combing on these triangles. And those squares are compound gatehouse. And those squares are compound loot rooms, so we'll leave them. Nobody's filling those in. And we just get a loot room here that's accessible from in the compound. Right in front of that compound outpost area. Getting those ramps on for sure to make sure we're honeycombing our core. And then from there we can wall in that floor. You'll see with the multi-TC you're going to have some red walls. Just making sure we're connecting it to the right socket. Don't freak out if you see some red walls. It's all good. Just a bit of practice makes perfect. Gonna add in a wall here, and we're making sure the rotation is as I have it. So we got that nice bump coming through, and it's going to cover up any gaps in our bunker. Our bunker is housing a vending machine, so gaps technically don't matter, but just for practice we'll keep it looking nice and neat. Again, here we're rotating to create those bumps. On the opposite side we're going to do the exact same thing for this bunker too, and we're just keeping in good habit here. Activating the conditional is the fancy word for getting the bumps. And then from there we can wrap the rest of our second floor in walls. And all else we have here is just a couple of loot rooms. And of course those 2 bunkers as well. These triangles are not used for anything, so it's nice to have a bit of combing on the second floor. So they can get walled in just like that. And a couple of door frames to divide down the middle. get our ceiling on top. It's simple in the center. However, next to our bunkers, it will get slightly more complicated, so be ready for that. A couple of loot rooms on the squares, giving us even more storage. And inside our bunker is going to be a vending machine. That vending machine needs to go as far back as possible. There is room for error here. You can absolutely mess it all up. So make sure you push that as far back as you can before you place it. Vending machines are not cheap items to break. And then from there, we're going to be connecting our floors to the external TC side away from main base, and you'll see we have our gap as follows. Double check your bunker stays open after you've placed on all those floors. If you didn't, and the bunker is not opening, yeah, it's going to be broken, and you're going to want to demolish those triangles. That's our 2 bunkers done, and we've double checked they're working perfect. Second floor is secure, so we're going to come back outside to compound and finish off our compound outpost so we can get some high walls down, some large furnaces, and continue on with the base. This compound outpost has a bit of a weird build out because we're really close to main base, so we're doing most of this in twig just now before we get these triangles here. These 2 triangles are the annoying ones to place, just due to us being close to main. But once all of that's in there, you can go ahead and upgrade our compound outpost, and that's the footprint we're looking for. Terrific, all that's upgraded. We'll start at the breach peak, and we'll add in our windows and half floors for that. Then there's a battery spot in the center, and 2 doors to enter our breach peak, giving that nice run around feel. Breach peak also has a little anchor bite looking on top of that funnel. And then we build in our bedrooms, extra triangle for that Patrico. Perfect. And a wall for that funnel. And then we're just going to ceiling it off as follows. Exact same thing on this end. And there we go. We'll go ahead and add in a triangle roof. Now, if you have none of the DLCs, so that's the shipping container, the brick, or the adobe, if you don't unfortunately own any of those, do not add in this roof tile. It might seem a bit pay to win, but only the DLCs have a small enough conditional to allow you to run through there smoothly, so I wouldn't recommend adding it unless you have that. If you do, go ahead and throw that down though. But that's the compound outpost. We're going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side, and I'll be with you guys once we're all caught up there. Okay, our compound outposts are done, our gatehouses are done. We are going to slap a furnace as high as we can, covering up the gap between the 2 builds to create an extra high wall essentially with that large furnace. And we're pushing that as far away from us as we can to cover up that gap as efficiently as we can, making sure that we only need 2 high walls to wrap around our large furnace. Much easier if you do the placement in this order. I understand that high walls may become available to you before large furnaces, but much easier this way, and ensures that you're going to get that furnace in there because it is rather tight placement. But as you can see, once the furnace is down, it's as simple as starting your high wall from the gatehouse and then wrapping that last one wherever you can, essentially on the bedroom, without clipping it in there too much. Before we do any barricades on top, we're going to do some small build outs here because barricades can often block some buildings. So we're going to raise up our turret pod here before we place those barricades to ensure we don't mess up the build order here. So get those down first. And then over on the compound outpost side, it's pretty simple. You can just throw those barricades down and do some small twig build outs to help get that placement. And 4 should cover that side, and 4 on the opposite side as well. Then from there, we're also going to add in chain link on the gatehouse side before we throw down these barricades too. And 3 will cover this end pretty well. I'm not going to rely on these too hard. Let's just try and get the shotgun traps and turrets up as quick as we can. And then from there, we're good to go. That's where the turret goes right there that I just placed. And that's all the barricade placement. Now, hopefully you guys have seen that. Alright, next up we're onto our 3rd floor and we're going to raise up some frames to play around with here. So we're raising up frames off of the squares and raising frames off of the triangles that contribute to that funnel wall down the bottom. So all those are matched up to the height that we need now. We'll start by working on the mobility chute, and they come equipped with a half-height window and then 2 normal windows on the left and right with Patricos. And we're building the exact same thing over here as well. There we go. And then we can finish off that airlock with some frames, a half wall and a ceiling to wrap around, all coming off the external side there. Just like that. Same as the floor below. Then over on the left and right, we'll work on our squares. Those again are mobility chutes. We're going to start with a layer of half floors, and I've changed this up from the tour because I realized this is actually a much better option. Is the staircase. It's going to give us some really nice peaks. Once we get those embrasures in, we'll get some nice peaks with the stairs, and of course the mobility is perfect, even with a bed in the way. When that staircase is there, allows for movement to be much easier. Then it's half floor window for the rest, preparing for our roof. In between we have spots for batteries, spots for lockers, whichever you'd like to use these triangles for is completely up to you. And then after that we just need some double door frames to separate up this entire area. And another spot here that's potential room for error. We are going to drop down to 2nd floor and use this area to place in our frames. So place in a couple of frames below, place them above, and then break those 2 that are on 2nd floor. Any frames in that area is going to prevent the bunker from opening, and of course we don't want that. So let's make sure this space stays open, double check our bunker still works, and then we're good to go. All the frames are in, let's get floors on this level. And then the last thing to do is roof. These floors are going to mimic exactly what's below, and that little gap that it leaves in the center can be perfectly covered by a garage door bumper, which is exactly what you should place there to cover up that gap. As for the roof, we're going to raise up some more frames, again from the funnel wall section here. And it's similar to my last base, the 2x1 that I did. These kind of mountain roof style peaks are super nice. And if you are having any issues placing in this triangle roof, I'm going to demonstrate it on the opposite side. You'll see hopefully an error message that you're familiar with. Right here, if you are using stone in a certain rotation, you're going to get a red on that triangle. You can either upgrade it to metal, or you can just simply rotate it, and you'll be able to place that triangle roof in there perfect. Next, we'll finish off the roof exit, and that comes with a peak 2, and then lastly a bedroom hoisted above. And that triangle frame is necessary for placing the beds. I'll demonstrate that in just a moment. But in order to have space for the locker and the beds, you're going to need that triangle frame dangling off the side, because the beds have got an annoying hitbox. So just the last 2 legs of the bed do sit on that frame there. So that's why we have that. Last thing that's left to do is we have an extra tower down here that we drop down to. Also houses our auto turret and windmill. Plus even more spots for a bed, which is super nice. And you're going to want to get a chain link door in between this too, to make that turret even stronger. And then you can connect all of that up and place a windmill on top. In between everything else, it's a simple square roof just to cover up those gaps, giving us some nice peaks, and of course some safe spots on roof to hide out to. We're going to wrap the windmill in low walls for absolutely no reason. Just looks nice. And once we've done that, that completes the base design. Hopefully you boys and girls have enjoyed this video. If you did, then please feel free to leave me a like and drop me a comment down below. Remember to check out Epic Desk. That's a really cool sponsorship, and I'm super glad that we're working together once again. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See you in a bit.